So in the second session of our life, we are going to cover the dialer app example. I have already cloned it from the GitHub, and in the Android manifest file over here I have declared that this application is using the built-in call phone permissions. Okay, so if you do like android.permission dot, you can get a lot of intelligence for a lot of available applications permissions. So these are the built-in permissions that are declared in the by the Android operating system. So which one I am using is the phone call phone. Okay, call phone permissions. So I am saying that okay, this application will be using these permissions, and I have two activities in this application. One is my launcher activity, which is by default its class is main class, and another activity I have declared it for the dialer activity. So we will be doing two different invocations of these activities. One is explicit and one is implicit. The difference between both is like in explicit you actually identify which activity, the name of the activity or the action of that activity that you specify, and then your intent will exactly launch that specified intent. But in the implicit intent, you already know these details in the intent filter and intent filter lectures. In the implicit, you know that we have to identify our action, and that action can be implemented by more than one application. So if there are more than two applications for that type of action, then the operating system will ask you that which one would you like to choose, and choose it one time or for always. So you then choose the application and it goes to that action activity. Like over here in this application, for the dialer activity I have given it a name of the action, that which type of action it can handle. Okay, so I am say that okay, this is my dialer is the name of this activity, the action name is this one, the category is the default, and the data that this activity will ask will be the telephone. So after the colon you have to specify the value of the telephone, and why the URI universal resource identifier that class. So in my another intent is that this activity is actually using the dial. This is the action is dial, and this dial action is actually defined inside the Android operating system, and the Android operating system knows that okay, I have to dial a phone call. Okay, so it will then redirect this activity to the phone app calling screen. The category is also default, and that activity, like the Android defined phone app activity, also requires a telephone number as the data. So let's debug this application. Let me show you what we are doing in the main activity. In the main activity I have two methods, like the explicit call and the implicit call of the applications, and I am setting the parameters for the telephone in both of them. You have noticed over here, like before this we used to set up the explicit action via the class name. Like I will say that okay, the intent.set class, this is the package like the current one, and which activity I want to invoke, I can specify the class name. You can still do this for internet application navigations, but if you are going to implement some like activity or actions which may be common with other applications, so it is better to do that through the actions, like you specify the action name and then you provide the what will be the data. So you say that URI.parse, it will be in this format, telephone colon the value of that value, that parameter, and then you start that intent. So it will go and launch your existing application activity. Okay, but in the case of implicit, you just specify that okay, my action is in action dial, and you provide the telephone number, and then it will directly call that. Now how we are doing it in the applications, like I can show you from the screens. So the first application, like open dialer open dialer explicitly. Okay, let's see first the explicitly, and you can press Control B to go to its directly definition, and over here the action listener is directly via the on click attribute of this button tag. Okay, so you can click on the name of this method and you can directly navigate to the method that it will call. Over here you have defined it, and you are calling explicitly your applications activity by the action name, not by the class name. Okay, and providing this data. And in the second case, you are calling it implicitly, this button. So you say that okay, go to this implicit call, and the implicit call you have this code and it will run it. We can set up the debugger on both of them, and just let's debug the application. In this application I have not given the built-in dialing app permission to this application. I have just installed it, so we can also go through the dialer activity, the way how permissions are asked. I can set up the breakpoint here. Over here what the dial dot set data is doing, it is sending the data to the action call. And let me open the emulator. Okay, it is already open. So let's first go through the explicit way of dialing the application, of dialing that phone number. So open dial explicitly. I think I have not debugged the application. Okay, so it is already in running state. Okay. We can restart it again, and stop or running application we can debug. Start it with debugging. Okay, let's wait for this to appear for debugging. Okay, now we debug this application again. Now the debugger is engaged and application will be launched. Installed successfully. I clicked the debugger button twice, so we see that again the first one was cancelled and then it did it again. So now let's click on the open dialer explicitly. So we got our debugger here, and you can go by F8. We set up the intent, and then set the action, and then we provide the data, and now we just launch it. F9, or you can click the continue button over here. Okay, so now it is our dialer activity is open now, and the phone number is already there. Now let's dial it. So it will ask us for the permission. So you see now the check permission will be false, so it will ask us, okay, you need to give me the call phone permissions. So we can just go to F8 and now show alert dialog. We can also go through how the alerts dialog are working. So you have a static class alert dialog dot builder. You build it with this context, okay, and then you set the position of the OK button. and you provide that okay, request permissions. I want to request this with this phone, this code number. This will be when the user will click on the OK button. If the user click on the cancel button, so nothing will happen. Okay, and the alert dialog will be created with these specifications, and then we show it. So let's continue it. So permission request justification. Application requires the permission to place the calls. We can cancel it and do it again, so it will ask again us that okay, you need these permissions. Again we are here, and now we have, like we saw that in the in our lecture, that it will also ask with the if we cancel it, it will ask first it is showing us that the justification. If we say okay, so it will ask again us with 3 buttons now. So let's allow this time. Once the permission is granted, it will take us to the phone app, and the default number we have already provided will be set up, and it is calling that number. Okay, we can just stop it. Now we are inside the phone app, okay, not inside our application. So you can come back when that intent is closed, so that then you can close it and go back to the implicit one. So we have done with the explicit one, now we do it implicit one. In the case of implicit, the Android operating system sees that who is implementing the action dial. Okay, so those applications will then be asked for you. In our case, we have not registered our app as a phone call app, so it will directly go to the implicit that phone app, and it will dial this phone number directly. So it came to this screen, the phone app screen, and when you click on it, it is like presenting us, giving us the opportunity that would you like to call it through this application, and then we say that okay, yes. So it will call it. Now the dialing activity is launched of the phone app. You can stop it. So this was our dialer app and the use of permissions, the built-in permissions in Android. How the built-in permission you can use for securing the privacy of users, like making a call or sending SMS or receiving SMS, and having control on them on these type of actions. These are the sensitive details. Okay, so you need permissions for them. Now from 2019, Android has stopped applications by giving them these two type of permission, like the SMS and phone recording or phone calling. You have to explicitly fill a permission declaration form, and in very rare case Google approves that form, and then you will be able to submit your app on the Play Store. Otherwise, if the application permission form is denied, you cannot submit your application to the Play Store. So always when you are going to install any app from the Play Store, make sure that the permissions, any application from the Play Store or somewhere else, make sure like the permissions they are asking you, they make sense actually. If like you have a torch application and it asks you for the camera and storage permissions, so that does not belongs to that application. So it means they can violate your privacy. So don't give permissions to applications which are not required for that application. Okay, so now let's go back. This is the end of our today's lab, and the exercise for you guys is that and your home assignments are you have reading assignments and you have modification the dangerous activity app. In the reading assignments, you are supposed to go to learn this complete article, the permissions overview, and also do read the application permission best practices. You will be evaluated in these against this lab. So I can show you, like let's go to this one. there are a lot of more details, and the latest always Google keeps these articles up to the latest versions, so it is better to follow them and keep on reading them. Permissions overview, it is already open. So some of its steps we have already covered in the video lectures and also in the slides, but some of them may not be there, so you have to learn all these subtopics of the application overview, and you have to go to the best practices. Okay, so these two articles are for you to read them as you're reading assignments, and there will be questions asked from these two articles against this lab. And one more thing, like for Android I have created another subject in the under the Android and unsub expert, that Android development has now another subject of labs. Okay, so you go to it and you subscribe to it, and then you evaluate yourself in lab 7. Based on your performance, your present will be marked. Okay, so you have to complete the lab by tomorrow, and from like before 10 p.m. Okay, and you have to pass this lab as well. It is the same like we are doing for our Android course. Let's go to that course and see. I think you already know those details, so I think so that's it for this lab, and I hope if there is any question or something, you can contact me on WhatsApp group, or you can post your question in the MS team. So that's it for the lab.